And if you really truly need help, then my doctorate doesn't matter. I'm going to help you regardless. So I think it's really started bringing a level of clarity with what people expected. And at the same time, I started to see how sometimes some people, their relationship with you are very superficial. I'm a little sad by that, just because that DR don't really identify you. You know, it opened
Right.
some doors for you and it gave you some opportunities, but I'm looking at your character.
Hey, Entreleaders, and welcome to the 47th episode of the Leaders Lab podcast. We are continuing on in our series entitled Life After Doctor, and I am thrilled to share a very special guest with us on today on the Leaders Lab podcast. Born and raised in Washington, D.C., Dr. Tony Warwick overcame incredible odds from his youth. By pulling from the grace he experienced during his darkest lessons, his focus is to help individuals change their lives through spiritual health, personal growth, and professional development. He desires to provide action steps for every area of the Christian life and see people equipped with practical principles to navigate the complex challenges life can bring while moving forward and making a significant impact in their community. Tony has always had a passion for transformation. This passion unveiled his purpose to see people be all that God has created them to be by connecting the transforming power to see people be all that God has created them to be by connecting the transforming power of the kingdom of God to everyday living. As a minister, Dr. Warwick has served as a best-selling author, certified chaplain, Bible studies teacher, and assisted in planting a life-giving church in Raleigh, North Carolina. With a pastor's heart for leaders in the local church, he has also served as a lecturer on biblical leadership. When he is not serving his community, you can find Tony ministering to over 200,000 followers on social media. As a public servant, his love for people has led him to serve his community as a firefighter, educator, coach, and president of numerous nonprofit organizations, which promote and provide cultural and educational services for disadvantaged youth. Currently, Dr. Warwick is leading and managing the largest youth program in Southern Maryland. As a business consultant, Dr. Warwick is committed to helping America's entrepreneurs grow and prosper. In June 2006, he launched an initiative harnessing public and private resources to accelerate high-growth entrepreneur success. He has advised over 50 early stage companies with a 95% success rate. Dr. Tony Warwick's life mission is to help people connect with the teachings of Jesus Christ so that they can make a great commitment to a great cause while overcoming great challenges to achieve great success. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure and honor to present to you Dr. Tony Warwick. Welcome to the Leaders Lab,
Welcome.
sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Campbell. How you doing?
I'm doing well, and I'm just so, I don't know when we became connected on social media. I know it's been over some years, but I remember following you and I'm saying, wow, he's posting some really good things. When I started this series, and I thought, I'm going to ask him if he would be a guest on the podcast, but I think he might be too big to come on the podcast. And when you said yes, I was like, you got to be kidding me, Lord. Are you serious?
Look, first of all, I'm not big at all. So, but that I think at the end of the day, for me, it's just really serving people. So it's very rare that I would actually say no. It's just an opportunity for me to serve. And if our interests and some of the things that we're into kind of align, I would definitely do it. It's not a problem at all. Thank you for the invite.
I mean, I'm still so like, wow, he said, I'm not big at all. But you are serving over 200,000 followers and fans and family on social media. How did that happen? Like, how did that start for you?
Oh man, that's what's interesting though. I just wrote about that in a new book that's going to be coming out at the end of the month. So that's a shameless plug. So
Allowed.
yeah,
That's
I actually
allowed.
wrote about that. It's a book called Soul Care, and
Wow.
the whole idea was for me to get some stuff off my chest. There were some things that I felt burdened by, and I just wanted to kind of communicate that. So I started writing in journals and stuff like that. And when that wasn't enough, I started just posting it on social media. And now this was back in maybe like 2007, 2008, and it just
Wow.
kind of just elevated and grew from there. Next thing I know, people was really giving me a lot of positive feedback. They were telling me that it was helping them a lot. And so a buddy of mine, a frat brother of mine at homecoming said, Tony, just keep doing it. And so that's what I chose to do. It was helping me and it was helping others. And it just kind of kept growing. And that social media actually led to me publishing books. So I'm grateful. I'm really grateful. I had no intentions of doing any of this stuff, but I'm just embracing the journey.
So, in terms of intention, did you ever have the intention? Were you intentional about becoming Dr. Tony Warwick?
No, not at all. I was horrible in school. Yeah, so in high school, I was a D, C- student at best. I tell
Wow.
people all the time that I think one of the reasons I graduated because I was a really great athlete. And
Ah,
so, that kind of worked in my favor that I can run really fast. And
okay.
it gave me opportunities, even when my grades didn't give me those opportunities or my SAT score was really low. But it did open a few doors for me. And when I got to college, things just really started to change for me. I started seeing education a little bit differently. I started meeting people outside of what I considered the norm at the time, and I
Mm,
just kept growing. And I think for me, a college education, the pace of it worked in my favor because naturally I'm an introvert. So
okay.
it's a lot of that self-studying, self-paced type of environment. And even in college, I think I graduated with like a 2.7, but in my major, I had a 3.9. So because
Wow.
I didn't really have any plans after I graduated, I just said, you know what, I might as well stay in school, and I went to grad school. Like, so it was
Wow.
never this plan. It was just because I didn't have a plan that I kept going to
Oh,
school. And, I joined the fire department, and then I came into this interest of business and entrepreneurship, and which kept leading me to, furthering my education. And then I fell in love with Jesus, which led me to furthering my education. And
mhm.
next thing I know, I got really good at school, taking classes.
Wow.
And so it kind of just developed that way. Um, when I received my first doctorate degree in 2010, it was really surreal because it wasn't that I'm this really smart, intelligent guy, but I'm very persistent.
Mm,
So you can't really tell me that I can't do something, especially if I feel it in my heart that I can. I'm just going to
yeah.
figure out a way to do it. And
Yeah.
so that's kind of what happened. A lot of trials and tribulations, a lot of failed tests. However, here I am. Just kept moving forward.
Now, did I hear you correctly? You said your first doctorate?
Yeah, yeah. So I got a doctorate in business back in 2010, and then in 2000, I had to look at the degree on the wall. 2015. In 2015, I got a doctorate in theology. So I want to I'm working on a third doctorate now, and I think it'll be my last as of right now.
You
I think it'll be my
think?
last. I
Sir,
think
wait
it
a
is.
minute
Yeah.
now. Okay, listen
I'm
now.
like, look, man, I'm gonna tell you something, and I know a lot of people, a lot of your audience is probably going to kind of just brush this off, but I am okay with being a lifetime student. Like I love.
Okay.
So here's how I kind of build my programs, right? I believe in
What?
two pillars. I believe in experience and exposure. And so I believe you can really access prosperity on those two things. The more things you experience, the more things you're exposed to. Now you can start shifting through a lot of the nonsense, and you figure out what works best for you. And once you kind of
Wow.
find that rhythm and what works best for you can just really thrive in that. However, you have to go through that journey to get to that destination. You have to go through all those ups and downs, and you have to keep trying different things. And so for me, because I was exposed to a lot of things and I experienced a lot of things, now I not kind of know where my niche is, and I'm okay with it. I'm at peace with it. And so I love just keep learning more new things about that niche.
Wow. So okay. So I understand the whole lifetime learner because I get that. Trust me, I understand. There was a time in my life when I finished my doctoral degree and I was considering going for my next one. Actually, I applied and I was accepted and I was ready to go, but I ended up moving to China. So I was trying to find an online program to do. And then life started happening, and I'm just like, well, maybe it's not for me. And you here telling me that you are working on your third doctorate at the
Yeah,
moment.
yeah. I just, especially now that I'm in this, I don't even know what I want to call it. I'm kind of in this faith, kingdom of God type of place. I don't even want to call
Mm,
it niche because that don't even justify it. But
mm,
now that I'm so deep into it, it's not so much for me learning new things, but I want to be exposed to a lot of different things. You
okay,
don't know really what's out there until you're introduced to what's out there. And
that's
so
true.
that's really why I tend to keep taking classes because I just want to know what people are saying, what people are learning, especially when it comes to their faith in God.
Mm.
So
So it's about the exploration, the discovery, the exposure,
yeah,
all of that. So that
absolutely.
because it also makes you more it makes you more confident in terms of how to deal with people from all different backgrounds.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. Oh, I see. There's a method to the madness. Okay,
But it
madness
also
indeed.
it also develops a level of self-awareness and empathy. Because now
Mm,
I'm meeting individuals and I know where they struggle, right?
yes.
Especially when it comes to their faith. I know where they are losing hope and how they feel
Mm.
guilty about different things. So that's what it is. It is that exposure, and I'm just experiencing the ups and downs that comes with those exposures.
Here's another question then. Since you started your journey when you received your first degree, I believe you said in your first doctoral degree in 2010, what are some of the highs and lows that you've experienced after receiving your first doctorate and your second doctorate, and even in your current program now? What are some of the highs and lows you've experienced?
That's a challenging question to answer because there's so many different variables. Um,
Okay.
in my personal life, not really many highs or lows.
Okay.
Because to be honest with you, during that time when I finished my first, I was in the fire department. And I would probably say only a handful of people actually knew that I finished my first doctorate degree. It's not something that you need to be a firefighter. So
Yeah.
it was something that I accomplished, and I felt great about accomplishing it, but I wasn't really using the degree. Um, the
Mm.
second degree, it does bring a certain level of attention, especially with my second one being in theology. Uh,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but some of those highs and lows really deals with people and their expectations. And so that's one of the
Mm.
other things I'm talking about being exposed to it. You realize that once people start calling you doctor, they have a level of expectation. And I'm the type of person, you're not gonna put me on a pedestal. You're not gonna,
Right.
put me in a place of idolship. I
Mm-hmm.
don't
Mm-hmm.
need you to start doing me favors or anything like that. And if you really truly need help, then my doctorate doesn't matter. I'm gonna help you regardless. So I think it's really started bringing a level of clarity with what people expected. And at the same time, I started to see how sometimes some people, their relationship with you are very superficial. So I think that's kind of where, now that I'm in education and I don't have an educational doctorate degree, but even in education, it's almost like they're forcing that DR in front of you to kind of prove who they are. I'm a little sad by that, just because that DR don't really identify you. You know, it opened
Right.
some doors for you and it gave you some opportunities. Um, but I'm looking at your character. You know,
Mm.
are you the same person in front of me that you would be at home with your spouse? So, that's the type of things that I starting to see now. And so that's why I said answering that question about highs and lows is challenging, because there are so many variables. But it did bring a level of clarity for me when I'm dealing with people.
Okay.
And so
And so,
you don't even see DR much. I think LinkedIn is the only place I really use the DR title.
mhm, mhm.
And for a long time, I want to say maybe up to maybe a year or two ago, that I was comfortable with people calling me Dr. Warwick.
Okay.
Yeah,
So it took you some time before you became comfortable with it.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. So the first degree, no comfort. Second degree, a little comfort. Third degree,
Um,
it's you can call me Doctor. You can call me Dr. Warwick or just Tony or
you can call me whatever
whatever.
you want, it doesn't even matter.
Okay.
And I think
Okay.
that's where I am now. Even
Okay.
in this process, I think it wasn't so much me getting comfortable with the DR, or the degree itself. I think more or less now I just really don't care. So, so
Okay.
yeah, you just really kind of call me whatever you want, and you
Just as long
respect
as you
me, I
still
respect you.
respect it.
Yeah, that's
There
it.
you go. I was
Just
about
be
to say, as long
respectful.
as the respect is still there. Okay. Fair enough.
Absolutely.
So, not many highs and lows, but what about some of the advantages and disadvantages of having your doctorate degrees?
Yeah, I think that really just based off the first question. The advantage is that it does open doors and opportunities.
Mhm.
Um, if you want that attention, you will have that attention. And you can take
Mm.
advantage of that attention. And if you're a type of person who want to create and produce products, those type of things help. Or if you want to be a consultant or something like that, um, that really does help you, especially going through that that level of education.
Mm.
Disadvantage, it does kind of put you in this isolated place where if you have a doctorate in theology, it's hard for people to see you outside of the church, or outside of the
Mm.
theological niche. So when
Yeah.
I tell people that I was a firefighter, or if I tell people I'm in education, they're asking, "What's your doctorate in?" Well, why does it matter? Am I getting results? So that's kind of my approach. But I do respond to it, and when do people ask me, why did I get a good degree in theology? I just wanted to understand my faith better. And by me
Wow.
understanding my faith helps me understand people.
Yes.
So yeah,
Okay. All right. So, the exposure, access, and um, awareness seems like they are the three primary benefits and things that you've been able to experience since since receiving your doctoral degrees. And so,
absolutely,
and I'm sure there's more, there's so much more in each one of those areas that have helped you to become who you are today, and reaching the people that you are allowed to. Now, you mentioned something about products. Specifically, now you said, I believe you said your first doctorate was in business,
hmm
and the second one is in theology,
hmm
and the third one is in education. The third one you're
ministry.
going
It's
in
gonna
right
be
now,
no, it's gonna be in ministry.
ministry. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay. So, what products are you? I mean, because you're an entrepreneur as well. So what products, when you say you're creating products, like people care about the products that you create, what specifically are those type of products? Are they like courses, or specifically writing books, or different things like?
Yeah. So when I first wanted to be an entrepreneur, I got into real estate. And so a part of that journey for me at the time is I wanted to have this real estate empire. And to be honest with you, I don't know if you're familiar with The Young and the Restless, but I wanted to be the black version of Victor Newman. That's
Okay.
who I wanted to be. So
Okay.
I was trying to do everything in my power to be this great entrepreneur, to leave a legacy that generations and generations can be blessed by. And so I got into real estate. I got into some other things, and it was really it really has blessed me. And so, but as I started transitioning, especially out of real estate, especially after that 2008 collapse, um, I started transitioning out of it, and I really started focusing more on theology and ministry. Um,
Mm.
People wanted me to write books and stuff like that. So next thing I know, I had to create these products and learn that publishing industry. Then publishing leads to creating more merchandise like T-shirts and cups and all that other type of stuff,
Okay.
which I haven't done yet, but um,
Okay.
it leads. It's just kind of one thing leads to another. Uh, but I think even when you're thinking about those type of things, it really doesn't. That really doesn't, I guess, matter when it comes to a doctorate degree. The doctorate degree is opening doors for you to meet people to help you create those products. Like I
Yes.
truly believe God gave you those ideas and that vision. And now
Mm.
because you have these degrees, he can open doors for you in places that people without those degrees can't go. And you can have
Okay.
conversations with people that most people without degrees can go. Um, so when you look at it from that perspective, those are those things that I believe a doctorate degree really helps you. I mean, it comes down to what do you really want? And why did you want the
Mm.
doctorate degree? You know, and so if you want your life to play out a certain way, and a doctorate degree is going to help you with those life plans, then go for it. Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for answering that question. So, what are three things that you wish you had known about having a terminal degree before now?
Three things. Three things. Let me think. The amount. I think the biggest thing that I wish I've known is the level of intensity to getting that degree.
Mm.
Just because I'm gonna use the word nonchalant towards it. Other people are
Okay.
not,
Okay.
and they take it very, very seriously. Um, and I honor that, um, but at times I find it funny because how serious they do take it. So I think when I moving towards that doctorate degree and being among other doctors, whatever industry that's in or whatever niche that's in, um, on how serious they take that coursework.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
understand. I think that kind of caught me off guard because it is another level when you're talking about you comparing that doctorate degree to a master's degree. That master's degree, you sometimes come across professors who are really trying to help you and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But you're really on your own when it comes to that doctorate degree.
Yeah.
If you're lucky, if you find a person on that committee, or in that subject matter that's willing to really help you along. And the other thing is, I wish, especially this has to deal with education, it is a badge of honor. And I didn't know that going in, right?
Mm.
For me,
Okay.
it was just opening doors. But people do really wear that doctor, that DR in front of their name like a badge of honor. And they want to
Yes.
make sure they're called Dr. So and so. Um,
Yes.
and so that was I ain't gonna say difficult or challenging, but I had to make an adjustment coming from the fire service to education. Because in a fire service, you just call everybody by their last name for the most part.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it might be Captain Johnson or something like that, but that captain is not really based on their education. It's based on their
Right.
experience in them, and they're able to pass a test. So,
Mm.
but you know, in the education realm, everyone, um, they if you earn that doctorate degree, they want you to be calling them a doctor for the most part.
Yeah.
So I think at the end of the day, I mean, those are the things that kind of like I ain't gonna, it's hard for me to say it caught me off guard, but I wasn't expecting it at the level that I'm dealing with now.
So is that the only thing you wish you would have known about it? Or
So my journey, and I kind of talked about it earlier, but when I was
Mhm.
in high school, I had a teacher tell me that I wasn't going to amount to anything, um, and if I got hurt in athletics, I wasn't going to amount to anything. Um, so somewhere subconsciously, uh, I think earning that doctorate degree kind of I was trying to prove something to myself.
Okay.
Growing up, I had some challenges in as far as reading and stuff like that. And
Okay.
so I think the more and more things I did, um, it kind of came to me as validation or affirmation. And
Mm.
and so I think that those pursuits was me trying to affirm who I was as an individual and as a man. Um,
Wow.
So I think, once I received those doctorate degrees, nothing in my life really changed. Um, I was still
Wow.
having I was still having great conversations with people, and I was conversing with individuals that I probably normally wouldn't been, having conversations with. However, I never really changed. And I really do give credit to the Lord because I was able to stay grounded, regardless that
Mhm.
some of my immediate circle started to change. That I never really
Mm.
changed, and I felt uncomfortable trying to become or becoming someone else. Um,
Okay.
but for me, like I said, subconsciously, I think, getting all these degrees and continuing my education, and to a certain degree, even being an entrepreneur, it was to a certain degree wanting to affirm who I was as an individual. It was almost like getting trophies.
Okay.
And every time I can look at
Okay.
my wall, I know I achieved something. So when I'm feeling down or I need to be motivated, hey, I did this, I can do it again. Um, but at the end of the day, everything that I've done, everything that I'm doing, to be honest with you, I don't need a doctorate degree to do it.
Right.
But there will be individuals who will need to hear my story, and people who have those learning challenges, to meet me and say, okay, if Tony can do it, I believe I can do it also.
Okay. So you mentioned something that I believe anyone who is achieved a higher level of education can relate to this. You said that you remained the same even when your immediate circle started to change. What were some of the changes that you noticed within your immediate circle now? And when you say immediate circle, is this like your inner circle, the people that you've been friends with for a long time? You started off with these people, and you went into this doctoral program, and you said you didn't really change much, but they started to change. How was that for you? Like, what was that like?
Yeah, I think that's where you start talking about people's expectations. And so if you already
Right.
have these preconceived ideas of who Tony's going to be now that he's graduated, um, then you almost kind of start taking yourself out of that inner circle. So
Mm,
I grew up in an area that was, I mean, I grew up in Washington D.C. and these in the 80s and 90s. I mean, things were times were really rough, and so growing up in that area, you didn't see a lot of people get out of the city. And so
okay.
when you went off to college, you would lose, several friends because now you're that college boy. You come back, you're exposed to a different culture, you picked up different traits,
Yeah.
your dialect has changed a little bit.
Yeah.
Instead of wearing wife beaters and Tim's, now you're putting on a polo shirt.
Yeah.
So you're making sure
Yeah.
your fingernails are always clipped. So you start to
Yeah.
look a little different. You start to speak a little differently, and so people start treating you differently, even though who I am has never changed. I
Mm-hmm.
can still joke with you and do all those crazy things I was doing, prior to me going off to college. But the way you see me, and I get that, I understand that. And so the same thing happens over and over again. I have frat brothers who
Wow.
that I, went through the bond with in college who really don't really speak to me anymore because now I'm a man of God, or I
Oh,
have this
wow.
level of faith, or now I have a doctorate degree and I'm doing this, or I'm putting these different things on social media, and so people start really pulling themselves out of your inner circle, and they just start treating you differently, even though you haven't really changed. Which once again, I totally understand. And so when you start talking about at a doctorate level, now you're among that 5%. And you have to be honest with yourself. 85% of people don't understand what you've been through to get that doctorate degree.
Yes.
They don't
Yes.
know the long nights of studying and that constant grind and all the gray hairs that start popping up on your head and the frustrations
Yeah.
of dealing with your dissertation being rejected and stuff like that. So now that you're going through those things, your conversation just in general has changed,
Mm-hmm.
because that bond that you had with individuals, 10, 15, 20 years ago, you've experienced and been exposed to a lot more. So you're not really having those same conversations anymore. You evolve, and you went in one direction, they went in another. And that's okay. But you just have to have that understanding that those things will happen. And you can still be friends with them. They can still be, there still could be family members and all that stuff. You're still by blood related. But you might not have that close relationship like you used to. And that's just growth. You hear all the time, the older you get, your friends, you have less and less friends. When you were a kid, all you got to do is stand in front of somebody's house and say, "Do you want to be friends?" And they're like, "Yes." You eat hamburgers? Yes, I want to be your friend too. So I mean, it's just as simple as that. But as you continue
Yeah.
to go through and you grow and experience some things, and you go through certain different traumas, um, those friends who truly understand, it becomes less and less. And so you start speaking to, when you stop speaking to them as much as you used to, because they don't get it. They don't understand what you've been through. You don't love them any less. It's just
Yeah.
the conversation is just different.
It's just different. Yeah. Yeah. Have you ever experienced the flip side of that where people are they're just so familiar with you that they kind of fail to see, even though you at your core you're still who you are, but they fail to recognize the developments, like the growth that you've had. Have you experienced that, like the flip side of it, where instead of people pulling away from you because oh, you're a doctor now, some people still, like, they're just, I won't say defiant, but they're like, oh no, you still the same person, I don't care about that title in front of your name, like you're still the same person. Have you encountered any of those?
Yeah, absolutely. And so those are the individuals I'm still like, that's family, my close friends. Those people, I honor those relationships,
Yeah.
just because they look at me and they like, I don't care about all that stuff. They still treat me the
Yeah.
same. And I love that.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that because to me, my interests might have changed. However, my personality hasn't. I'm still an introvert.
Mm.
I still don't
Mm.
like to go to parties, even outside of anything, with my faith. I never like to go to parties. And
Wow.
those friends that I had that knew that and understood that about me, they understand that about me right now. I don't like big crowds. So, when I go to a theme park, I'm going off season, not just because I don't want to wait in the long lines. I just don't like a lot
I
of
want to
people.
see people.
Yes. So, you know, so, it's and people who are listening to this, who's watching this, who are introverts, they will totally understand. Like when you get
Mhm.
into those environments, it wears you out. Like, so I
Mm.
will come home and I will have to literally go to bed because I'm tired. Now I might have not, I probably didn't say one word, but I'm watching over my shoulders. I'm watching what everybody else doing, and if I have to entertain, it's just draining me. And
Wow.
so that has never changed about me. I don't like public speaking, to be honest. And so anytime I have
Really?
to preach, after I'm done, I'm going straight to bed because I'm tired. I'm really, really tired.
Wow.
So,
Wow. The
so
confessions of an introvert. Here's the
look, oh, I
confessions of a
love it. I love it.
professional
Look,
introvert.
here's one thing about me, I am very transparent. I,
I love it. Oh, listen, I don't
I'm
know
very
if I'm going to
transparent.
subtitle this The Confessions of an Introvert, but listen, Life After Doctor, The Confessions of an Introvert.
Yeah,
Listen, I, so growing up, I was always an extrovert. Oh, just always an extrovert. But the older I get, I find myself doing things off season intentionally.
welcome
Like
to the
I
club.
find myself I find myself traveling to places off season, visiting specifically. And if somebody invites me somewhere, the question that we always ask, who all going to be there?
That's right.
How many people
That's
are
right.
going to be there?
That's right.
And so to hear you say, now I'm starting to realize, oh my goodness, have I become an introvert? Like, I know I'm still an extrovert for the most part, but have I become, because you talked about how it's draining
Yes.
to have to be around like so many people and things.
Yeah.
And yes, I find myself when I finish work, when I finish anything, I find myself coming home, going to bed, calling it a night, or I find myself cherishing my time more. And before, see, like I said, I wasn't always an introvert at all. At all. Like that would actually,
Right.
if anyone who knows me or they're listening to this right now, they'd be like, she was never an introvert whatsoever. But now and I don't know if it's because of the things that I've been exposed to, and because, like you said, the change interest.
Mhm.
You said just because your interest changed doesn't mean your personality has changed as an introvert for you. But for me, I think that because my interests have changed and because I am more aware of my own emotions and how much I feel drained at times from giving, or like you said, being basically observant
Mhm.
around my surroundings, it's draining. So now I'm sitting here
Absolutely.
like, have I become an introvert unintentionally? Like now I need counseling because I don't know if that's a good thing. I don't I don't know how to feel about this right now. Like
Embrace it. Just embrace it. Come on over here to our side and embrace this.
like, wait a minute. What is happening to me? Because I still love people. And I
Absolutely.
honestly I think when you begin to take on leadership roles, I think the progression of becoming an introvert actually just happens by default. And it's not because you're trying to like push people away. It's the fact that you want to be able to reach people. You want to be able to do all that you can for people without being so empty that you're no good to them. So you have to
Mhm.
pull back. You have to
Absolutely.
pull back at times so that you can be refilled, you can be
Absolutely.
replenished so that you can go out and help again.
That's right. That's right. And I think what you're describing is the difference between people who have the gift of leadership and people who develop skills of leadership. Right? When you have that gift of leadership, you're always pouring out, right? Because it's something in you. And we're not talking about, I mean, everybody's a leader to a certain degree. You're a leader within your family, within, your job or your community. Or you can be a leader on a greater scale, like of a Fortune 500 company.
Yeah.
But when you have that gifting, that spiritual gift, as some people want to say, and you're a leader, it's like you're naturally inspiring and motivating people. You have this passion, this vision, and you're helping people get there. That can be very draining. And to be honest with you, that's always been in you, but when you were younger, you had all this extra energy that you can burn off. And now that, we're a little older and a little bit wiser, we want to kind of hold on to the energy that we do have. So when we do give out and we pour out, we have to find a way to replenish and, fill ourselves back up, so that if that's going on a 1 hour walk, and just start thinking about some of the things that you've done in the day or some things you're going to do, or going to work out at a gym or reading or watching TV, whatever the case. You have to figure those things out to kind of, renew your mind, to give you that energy again, because tomorrow you're going to be pouring out just as much as you was the day before. And and people gravitate to that. They're going to keep pulling. There's more that you give, they're going to keep pulling, because they do need you. It's not them being selfish, but they really do need your influence. They need your voice. There's things that you can do, and things that you can say, people that you can impact that I would never be able to impact. There's lives that you can touch that I would never be able to touch. And it's the same with me, because of the way I grew up. I can speak a certain way to some of my friends that's still living in the hood that, other people would never be able to reach them. And that's the beauty of it, right? But you have to have that self-awareness to recognize, hey, I need a day or two. I need to cut off all my lights, hide myself in the, in front of a TV in the living room, sip some wine or do something. I don't know.
Listen.
That's right.
Listen.
For me, it's milkshakes. So.
But see, you can do milkshakes and you probably still stay the same size. Me, I do milkshakes, and when I wake up in the morning, I'm like 25 pounds heavier. I don't understand my genetics like that. For me, it would be something a little different, but I envy you. Because you can do the milkshakes. But I love what you said about the difference between the gifting, having the gift of leadership, and then simply having the skill of leadership. And I don't want to say simply, because even to develop leadership skills, it's not simple. Everything is intentional. But when there is a God-given gift on the inside of you, this is why I have the Leaders Lab, because I pour into other leaders, and I have leaders come on this, on the podcast, so that they can pour into my audience of leaders as well. It's because we're so used to pouring out, and we forget sometimes that we need to be poured into. And sometimes that looks like just taking a break, even if it is for a day or two. I love it. So if there was one leadership characteristic, I mean, there's so many, but if there was just one leadership characteristic that Dr. Tony Warwick said, nah, if you're a leader, you must have this, what would it be?
I would definitely say passion. It's hard to say one, right? Because passion, it's almost like a bird, right? In order for that bird to fly, both wings have to be operating. And, if you want to soar, that the bird have to have these two beautiful wings kind of soaring through the air. And I believe one of those wings are passion. And then the other wing could be vision, and being able to articulate that passion and vision. But even part of that, there has to be a level, and that's why I know you say one, but
because it's hard to do. It's hard to pinpoint it down to just one.
Right, it is, because if you're a very passionate person but have no vision, then you're going to have challenges leading people. But if you have all vision and no passion, then people are not going to feel inspired behind your vision in the first place.
Wow.
So I think those are the two things that I think you have to have as a leader in order to lead people. But here are my question to you would be then, can you lead yourself? Because you can have this passion and you can articulate this vision, but do you feel a level of significance?
Wow.
Um, Significance is kind of your why you're a leader in the first place. And so, significant really does have like three components. It's, your meaning, your purpose, and how you express that meaning and purpose. So if we pull back the layers of all that vision and that passion, what is your why behind it? Are you doing it looking for a level of significance? And if you are, then what is your purpose behind it? And so
Mm-hmm.
that's the way I would approach it. Just answering that question. I think, in order to get to that one word a leader must have, there's so many components you have to build on top
Yeah.
of it. And if you don't have passion or vision and you have this skill set, then you need to find individual who can have passion, who can cast vision. Right now, you're talking about, are you able to manage resources?
Mm.
Because you're transitioning yourself not just so much of a leader, but to a manager of more people, because you
That's
don't
right.
have these skills or you don't have this type of gifting. This is why you see a lot of organizations struggle. You see that mom and pops type restaurant struggling because
Mm.
they don't have a lot of vision for what they were trying to do. And to a certain
Mm.
degree, maybe they didn't understand their significance in the community or the significance of them opening up a restaurant and what that would mean for their family. This is why you see, 92, 93% of churches, local fellowships failing within the first 3 years
Wow.
because they don't understand the vision. And so you think you could just get up there and preach, get people excited, and that's going to sustain them. But you have to have some type of vision that you want for this community, right? That was what Jesus was always doing with his disciples. He was always giving them vision of what this future
Mm.
is going to look like in this kingdom. And so I
Yeah.
think as a leader, if you start understanding those things, then you can start kind of focusing on, okay, what am I good at? And if I'm good at this, let me double down at that. If I'm good at being passionate about something, let me double down and being passionate. And that passion could be my one thing. And then let me partner with someone who can help me cash vision.
All right.
I know
So,
that was a lot. I feel like that was a lot to
I
answer
mean,
that
no.
question. It was long-winded.
It's, but preachers. No, no, no. Preachers. That's why. Um, but no, no, no. I mean, I specifically asked that question to every guest because I want to know what every other leader is out here thinking when it comes to the types of characteristics, the traits, what you need to have to be an effective leader. And to hear just the different responses. And most say it's so hard to just say one. So they go into like two or three.
Yeah.
And so that's why when you said, passion plus vision, you were actually the first person to say vision, and I am a visionary leader. So when you said vision and passion, like it just resonated with me in a way that I'm like, see, that's what I would say. If I could create a word, if I could literally go in and create a word that would say passion plus vision plus emotional intelligence, like if I
Mhm.
could take all of those and couple it into just one word, which I mean, it would probably be a very long word, but if I could, that would be my word. And so I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, I appreciate you saying that.
To bring some like real world application, this is why you have so many organizations and companies struggling through this pandemic, right? They haven't
Mm,
they haven't really made that transition to this virtual space because they lack vision. And so you
Yes.
got into this routine, and initially you were passionate about everything you were doing. You got into this routine, and it was good, but the world changed, right? The
Mm.
people way we access goods, the way we live our lives, those things started to change. And because you
Yeah.
lacked this vision, you weren't able to transition into this virtual space to help your company, your organization, your business to continue to thrive. It's
Mm-hmm.
no longer, if you're not setting up, for example, if you're a real estate agent and you're not meeting your clients over Zoom, then you're
Yeah.
5, 6 steps behind already.
Yes. Yes.
Like, it's no longer that person having to come into your office to sit down and talk about things.
Right.
It's no longer if you just picking up the phone, set up an appointment and get over Zoom or something like that, and have these face to face or these virtual face to face conversations with them. Um,
Yeah.
Especially in education. Right now you're seeing a lot of pushback, and but education is changing. And I think in
Mm-hmm.
education, we have to do a better job in embracing the virtual space. A lot of parents don't want their kids in these classrooms of 30, 35 students anymore. They're looking for
Right.
more intimate space, with their teachers, a classroom of 12, 15 students. So
Mm-hmm.
they're choosing to homeschool and get into these co-ops. So, as a society, as a community, if we don't recognize these things, if we're not transitioning because of a lack of vision, we're going to continue to struggle. We're going to continue to struggle.
Yeah.
There's a lot of boycotts and a lot of bus boycotts, a lot of people who are driving, bus drivers are boycotting because of lack of pay, or they want more money or more benefits and stuff like that. Someone with vision would have saw that was coming.
Wow.
And so for me, I'm not surprised, because I've always felt that they were underpaid. They just needed some motivation to take a stance. And so somebody with vision would have saw that, but we don't hire people who have vision. We look at their
Yeah.
resumes, and
Ooh.
we'll interview them with 3, 4 people on a panel, and we ask these lifeless questions just to see if they can
Ooh.
do a job. But depending on that job, it's so much more than what qualities that you have, or can you do this, or can you type this fast, or something like that. Are you good with people? Are
Right.
you someone who will bring a negative atmosphere into this workspace? Like, those are the things we have to look at. Anytime I'm hiring some of my instructors or something like that, I really do ask questions about life. And it is
Mm.
very informal, but I just want to know what kind of individuals they are. Because,
Mm-hmm.
teaching is a skill. I can
Yeah.
help you and teach you how to teach someone, but
Yeah.
can you manage those kids? Classroom management.
Right.
Can you manage
Right.
behaviors? Or are you just going to be somebody that's standing at the whiteboard yelling all day long?
Right. Right.
So, but
Wow.
once again, I'm long-winded. So,
Preachers.
so yeah.
Preachers. And you preach it to the choir though. So that's the thing. Like when you
Well,
say
see,
I'm
that's the
long with it,
thing.
I'm like,
That's the thing about introverts. We think about all this stuff, and now I'm just coming out with it. So,
you give them an opportunity and they just going to spill everything out. They're
that's
going to
right.
tell you
Because all this been
everything.
floating in my head for a long time. So,
Well, I'm glad that you finally have the opportunity to release all of this genius to the people, to the masses. This has been honestly, this has been a wonderful interview, and I if you say yes again in the future, I definitely would be having you coming back on the Leaders Lab podcast just to talk to ministry leaders, and to to see how because that's sad. What was the statistic that you said? What percentage of first within the first 3 years churches fail?
yeah, like 92, 93%. I mean, the last time I checked, it was 92, 93% that churches fell within the first 3 to 5 years.
Wow.
So even though that you see a local fellowship on pretty much every corner, um, that doesn't mean that local fellowship, that church is fruitful. There might be,
Mm,
two, well, I won't say that bad, but maybe about 10, 15 individuals in that local fellowship. They're hurting, they need
yeah.
resources and funding and stuff
Yeah.
like that, and within 3 to 5 years they will probably merge themselves into another church. So that's
Wow.
that's the story. The average church is less than 100 people, even though we see these, you know massive churches on TV, but
And on social
on
media.
social media. But to be totally
Mm-hmm.
honest with you, it's less than 100. A mega church
Wow.
is really like 400 people or more. So
Wow.
what you're seeing is these super mega, you know, churches, who does have a place in the market. However, there are individuals that have members, 15, 20 members who are really, really struggling. And that's just because there are some things that they're doing incorrectly. Do
Mm,
they have passion? Do they have vision? What is the vision for their members in involving the community? How do
yeah.
they plan on to spread this gospel, whatever that gospel is to them? So yeah, I would love to come back and talk to those individuals and share whatever understanding or knowledge that the Lord has given me. Because I'm here to serve. So let's do it.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And thank you in advance because that will definitely happen in season two.
Awesome.
So season two is going to be next year. So I appreciate you
Awesome.
already accepting the invitation. So you all know to look out for Dr. Tony Warwick to
And
be
I
back
accept
on.
the invitation. I accept the invitation for season 3 and 4 also. So yeah, let's do this thing. Don't just give me one more season. Let's speak this thing into existence. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this thing.
It's official,
That's right.
Entreleaders. It is official.
That's right.
Dr. Tony Warwick must come back every season.
Every season,
Every
off
season. I
season,
love
in
it.
season, doesn't matter. I'm here. I'm here. Let's do this.
I love it. All this energy. I love it. I love it. Listen, if you all want to follow Dr. Tony Warwick, he like I said, I've been following him for quite a few years. And I think maybe I started following you on Twitter years ago. Like years ago when I was actually tweeting. Pray for me. I'll get back. I'm doing a little by little, okay? So just
Me
pray
too.
for me,
Me
okay?
too. Me too.
Little by little. But I look at the posts that you have that drips out on LinkedIn. I mean, you're so consistent with everything that you're doing, and so that is something that I admire. And Entre Leaders, I'm telling you now, he's a good leader to follow. He's someone that you can even if it's just you're reading a post that's in your timeline, you can get some type of encouragement from it. So you can reach him. What's the best way that you would like to be contacted by anyone?
Really, you can reach me at TonyWarwick.com, or if you just don't even want to go there, just reach out to me in one of my social media handles. LinkedIn is a really good one. I really
Okay.
do
Yeah.
like the LinkedIn platform.
Mm-hmm.
Um, with Twitter, I tend to get a little bit more spam stuff in my direct messaging. So I guess that's the PC way for me to say that.
Yeah. Yeah. Spam.
Spam. Um,
That's what we'll call it. Yes.
yeah. So LinkedIn is a little bit more conservative. So
Yes. Yes.
um,
Thank you, LinkedIn.
thank you,
Uh-huh.
LinkedIn. So that was the best ways to contact me. Just shoot me an
Okay.
email on my website. So any
Okay.
prayer requests, definitely go to my website, um, /prayer requests, and then
Mhm.
um, I'm here to serve you. Absolutely.
I actually love that. When I went to, I was prior to us actually recording the episode, I went to TonyWarwick.com and I saw that was the first thing that I saw. I mean, aside from the, the homepage, the first thing that I saw at the top was prayer requests. And so I click on it and I'm like, this is genius. Because people want prayer all the time. Like this is, and I'm, in my mind, I'm like, why didn't I think of that? Like what? It's just, oh, okay. I have a work with me, but why not have a pray with me? Like, why not have a, how can I pray for you type of.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I will be changing. I will be adding that part.
That's awesome. We all need more prayer.
I will be.
And look,
Yes.
I will be sliding something into that, typing up a prayer. Like, look, pray for me in this situation because we need it. I know I need it.
I'm gonna be going to your website and going into the prayer request. Dr. Warwick is me. Wow, this has been so awesome. I love it. Honestly, I love it so much. And of course, like Dr. Warwick said, he will be coming back in season 2, 3, 4, and so forth. So as long as there is a Leaders Lab here, you have a seat in the lab, sir. And we thank you
so much. Thank you so much.
We thank you for your work. And listen, for those of you who are tuning in, whether you're watching on the video version on YouTube, or whether you're listening on the audio version of this podcast, I want to say thank you so very much for rocking with us on this day. So don't forget that you can also contact me. Now you see Dr. Tony's website down here. Remember that is drCharityTV.com, but you can also connect with me, DrCharityTV.com, and also all of my social media is at Dr. Charity TV, except for Facebook. It is at Dr. Charity TV page. It's been a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful episode, and I look forward to seeing you all next week in the lab.
Thank you for listening to the Leaders Lab podcast. Visit our website at www.drcharitytv.com